I did not forget to unmute.
Nice. Good job.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming back tonight to the pigsty. I'm just going to move us about. There we go. Tonight, I have with me James Apperson. James, put your link in the private chat. I haven't had a chance to put it in the description.
Sure.
Put your link in the private chat. James is only 8 people away from... I'm not muted. He's only 8 away from 100, if I checked rightly today, James. So only 8 more subscribers. And you're
so I'm 7 away now. So yep.
There we go. So go over it, give the man a like. It's been some good conversations there. He was here the other night, if you've seen, for the after party for the debate on Thursday, and I thought James would be a great co-host, great someone to start with. Their approach and stuff was very, very good. There we go.
Awesome. I'm glad to be here, and that's the link right there. So
copy, and the bot's not running yet, Ger. I have to have the stream running before the bot will load. There we go. Bot will be loading now. Right. So yeah, as you can see from the one other thing, if we could just do a wee bit of housekeeping just first. I don't really do housekeeping or any of that bullshit. But if I should be able to, which screen is that? That's that screen. Okay, so we shall put this here, and this is a shout for that little asshole that's running around telling people that I'm afraid. Ger is here. Ger seen it earlier, and you will be able to see. There we are. I don't know if you can see. That is me in email form contacting ETT, him asking and me agreeing. Look. All of these emails going back and forth. There's the one I asked him. So would you like to do this Thursday? It will depend. I will let you know. No bother. Never got back to me again. So going around telling people that I said no was probably just wrong, you know. So other than that, we shall get this. Yes, and as the week has went by, I have been jumping around a few different Christian channels amongst a smaller community, including both great people, nice people, people who don't care, people who take it too serious, Christian community, Christian online sort of community. And I found an awful lot of infighting. Okay, so this is where the title of the stream came from tonight. Which church has it right?
nice.
I have discussed with a few of these channels that I'm having it here tonight. Hopefully some of them will turn up. But the idea, the premise of it is, like, trying to find the words. It's different in America than it is in the UK. In the UK, you can all go to church and all be Christians, and it doesn't really matter what church you go to. They're not going to stab each other or row in the street. You know?
Right.
With the Americans, as you would describe as fundamentalists, they take everything so goddamn serious. You're not going to get to heaven. You're not going to do this unless you believe my church, unless you're in my army, my clique. And I don't understand why it's so important. Like, why do they? Because the person has accepted Jesus, right? They've self-proclaimed themselves as a Christian. They have accepted Jesus, but their point of view on how to get to heaven is slightly different than yours. Would you not be happy that they have accepted Christianity and that they are working through that? You know, at least they're not a dirty atheist, if you understand my point of view.
Yeah. So I've seen lots of different schools of thought about that. I've seen an awful lot of Christian fundamentalists in America being very divisive about who isn't a Christian. But I've also at the same time met somebody who were like, we're all big part of one big sloppy but happy family. And I understand both perspectives, and I'm not sure which one I find more troubling. Because, I mean, they're not one big happy family, right?
No.
But on the other hand, go ahead.
No, I'm agreeing with you. Yeah, you asked just a rhetorical question. I give you an answer to the rhetorical question. Sorry.
So they can't. There doesn't seem to be anything that they can agree on that's meaningful. Like they can agree on like some words, like for example, Jesus. They all say, "Oh, we all believe in Jesus," But then when you ask them to define Jesus, what are his character traits and what is his agenda? What are the beliefs that are essential to Jesus, and how is that supposed to be applied to our lives? You get such a broad range of answers that are utterly incompatible. And
if I could ask you, right? Like what you would be an atheist, agnostic, whatever it is, yeah, non-theist, okay? Would be happy enough to say that. How would you describe a Christian? Like if I come up to you and I said, I'm a Christian, what does that bring to your mind? What does that make you think I am?
It tells me that they have a label that they identify with, that they find important, and that there's something they want to tell me, right? There's something they want to be known for, and they think it's socially relevant, right? But I don't know anything about it. For me, it's just a label. I'm like, it's this big placeholder idea. I don't have no idea what they packed into it yet. And I try to remind myself, and it's pretty easy to remind myself, I don't yet know. Is this person a progressive? Are they conservative? Are they a fundamentalist? How hardcore are they? Are they casual about it? Are they like obsessed about it?
Yeah, well, Christian doesn't give all that. If they said fundamentalist or they said, young earth creationist or something like that. But in this context, you've asked this person what they say. So the fact that they've used Christian is brought upon for you. It's not a stranger just walked up to the street and said, I'm a Christian. You've asked them what they are. But and I could give but I would say then from a Christian, if someone said to me they're a Christian, the only things I could discern is they probably believe in the Gospels, they probably follow Christ, and if they're an American, I could probably say that their politics is a wee bit right wing.
Yeah,
that's about the only thing I could confirm on that. And that to me would cover an awful lot of churches, an awful lot of religions, an awful lot of people who define themselves as Christian. And not to say that we would put them all in the same pigeonhole, because there's definitely different groups and different churches which we would look upon differently.
Right.
But they would all be classed as Christian from our point of view, where in the Christian sort of domain, there's more segmentation, there's more people to hate, there's more reasons to hate different groups. There's all these excuses. Well, I don't like this person because he says it's works, and I don't like this person because he's a Calvinist, and I don't like this person because of blah, 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 blah. And it just seems like it's creating more excuses to fight with different people.
Sure, I agree 100%. So it's societally divisive, and it's personally divisive. And it reminds me of the text in Bibles that say that Jesus came not to bring peace, but to bring a sword of division between family members and friends. And why they don't have a problem with it, I don't know. But it's something they don't usually talk about. So I see that as a big problem in terms of creating an even more divided and polarized society. But at the same time, I've met some open theist Christians. And I'm not going to name any names. There's some people in our extended community that have gotten a lot of attention lately for this. And they'll just say, any old version of Christianity will do, just as long as you accept Jesus. We're all, Christianity is just one big thing. And so while the upside to that is that it's less divisive, right? They're less polarizing against each other, and there are certainly upsides to that. The downside is that now these friendlier, more kind of progressive-ish, open theistic Christians that are all like non-divisive about Christianity itself, now they're doing PR work and recruitment work for the larger structure of churches, right? And so they'll plant this idea of Jesus and equate it with like puppies and rainbows and hugs and love and all this stuff, and hope and alleviation of fear of mortality or whatever. Just appeal to cast as wide of an emotional net as they're able to. And the problem is that sometimes that works, and so they plant this seed, and somebody's thinking, maybe, and then so they go through their life. Maybe it's a day later, maybe it's a decade later. And they start thinking, I remember this really sweet person, this open theistic Christian, who planted this kind of like thing in me that, I don't know, I've kind of been thinking about it lately. I'm feeling like there's something missing from my life, and I'm worried about my mortality, and I don't know, I'm going to look into this. I'm going to start taking this seriously. They seemed so happy way back when. And so what they do is they walk down the street and they go to the nearest church, and they go check it out. And So what happens is it's a dice roll, right? Because you don't know. They could be walking into the hands of any particular sect at all, and some of them aren't super dangerous, but some of them are, and so they're going to walk in. And the problem is that humans are pattern-seeking creatures, and every single religious sect out there is drawing from generations, in some cases centuries and centuries of refining experience and how to manipulate people's cognitions. And so they each have this structure of ideas that the pieces lock in and endorse each other. This piece supports this piece, which supports this piece, and circles back around to support the first piece. And what happens is that it creates this mechanism in the human mind where, because all the pieces fit right in the story and the explanation, it releases the feel-good chemicals, the sense of right. It's like epiphany, like you feel like you've stepped into some kind of enlightenment, but it's just a psychological manipulation.
What?
And go ahead.
Well, I wouldn't say technically a manipulation. I find with an awful lot of people that would find Christianity and find a church that clicks with them, it's the, maybe not manipulation, but it's the giving up of the responsibility. When you don't have to worry about something, it's freeing. It's releasing, you know?
Well, sure, adulting is hard.
Yeah.
The struggle is real. And, I don't find fault with all of it. Like, a lot of what they appeal to are common human needs, common human wants, common human frailties. So it's not like these people are coming at this from some position I can't relate to. I can relate to it, right?
Right. Well, let me ask you this question, right? Would you have an issue with the church, regardless of Christian or whatever it is, right? And it's a church that pretends that a God created the earth and that a God, is going to look after you and all the rest of it and this, that, and the other. But they aren't as fundamentalists. Say they are politically up the middle. They don't care about politicians. They don't take part in political points of view or anything like that. They tell you to go forth, and if you have problems, and it's all up to you. But you're going to heaven, you're going to church. Evolution is God's action and stuff like that. They're not anti-science or anything like that. Would you have an issue with that church?
I would have less of an issue. The way I think, less of an issue. I won't say no issue.
Right.
So the thing, it depends on exactly what they put into that. So is magical thinking dangerous? Potentially, but just to take the first issue, when I look at Buddhists or Native American spiritualists, I don't. It doesn't bother me. Like, that level of magical thinking, I don't think is highly consequential to humanity. Now, somebody like R.N. Raw would argue that it is, and I get his points, but I'm not convinced that it's as consequential as he supposes that it is. So if he's right, then he's right. If he's wrong, he's wrong. The point is that I don't see it as particularly consequential by itself. So, but when we talk about God as a position of authority, then the problem with creating a pedestal or a platform for someone to stand on and say, I represent the creator of the universe, and so as long as I'm standing on this pedestal, I have greater social leverage than you. My words carry more weight, and they should carry more weight even than your own thoughts and feelings. Because the creator of the universe told me some stuff that he wants you to think and do, and some stuff he wants to make sure you don't think and do. And even if it's a short list, and even if it's a list of things that I mostly agree with, heck, even if it was a list of things I entirely agree with, the problem remains that pedestal is a hotbed of potential abuse. Once you build that pedestal and saying anybody that stands upon it has this mantle, right, this cloak of authority because they speak for the creator of the universe, the first person to step on that in a given church or denomination might only say pretty reasonable things, and that doesn't seem like a big problem. But when you pull people into a certain psychological mindset where they're trained to respond to or revere the person on that pedestal as an agent of God, right? So their thoughts and feelings matter more than yours. The problem is the next person that steps on that pedestal might not be so reasonable. And predatory people, or even moderately predatory people, can usually be pretty skilled at making it seem like they're spitting truth, right? And they can be good at appealing to people's emotions, and it's an easy sell once you have a people, whether it's a congregation of 100 or a society of millions, it's an easy sell to get people to lower their guard, the critical thinking, and to be receptive to anybody standing on that pedestal. Oh, wow, the creator of the universe says this, and this is what he really meant? You may have a point,
See,
right? So the pedestal itself is problematic. It's dangerous. We never should have built it. Or maybe if our ancestors had a good reason to build it, we should be dismantling it right now. So, are you with me so far on this?
yeah, no, I'm understanding where you're coming from, right? You're worried about the pedestal and the abuse that can be used from that power that is given to someone put on that stance, right?
Right.
And we will never meet that person, so it's an asshole or somebody who comes up, a con artist, takes advantage of it. So the ability for abuse is there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's what I'm seeing is your issue with it. And that comes down to people, though.
Yeah.
Right? And what that person will then put forth with that church. Trying to get my trail of thought back. But I find that, like as you said, if the pedestal should never have been created. But I'm finding that critical thinking. Critical thinking should be applied to everything. You know, I would have conversations with people like that, and this, that, and the other, and you can see your critical mind, you're aware of it, and things like that. But you don't learn that unless you're taught it. And anyone who has been self-taught or come across critical thinking and had to learn it, had to come across the big questions, political questions, religious questions, and things like that. I feel the idea, if we never created it in the first place, we wouldn't have these questions. You know, the idea of, I hate the phrase echo chamber and shit like that there, but unless you're put outside your comfort zone, unless you're given these opportunities to ask, you know, an argument could be made that a progressive enough church that accepts evolution and stuff like that, a church very similar to what I described, would create better thinkers, whether they stayed in the church or not, but better critical thinkers than, say, someone who just followed Iron Rat.
Sure.
Because
I can't argue. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll grant that openly. And so while there's a lot of risk there to how it could be abused, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be abused. And if you're starting from a framework of the values of the Enlightenment, right, like something strongly akin to like humanism or something like that, but just with a religious theme or something like that, chances are they're not going to be they're not going to be abusing the pedestal, and whoever steps on it next, if they're coming from within that community, they wouldn't be able to make a big departure from that and suddenly go far right and still be accepted as a legitimate person to stand on that pedestal. So I get that, and I can concede that there's some wisdom in that. And of course, that if it's used responsibly, they could encourage people to think critically and have more compassion and things like that. I mean, we saw that with the Quakers at the beginning of the emancipation, right, of the slaves. So it is possible to have that pedestal used for good instead of evil, and I don't deny that. But then I think it's hard. I suppose there probably are some Christian denominations out there where they're not sneaking in some pretty bad ideas. Maybe that's possible, but man, I think that'd be hard to find. It seems like the closer they come to being non-toxic, the less it's even a religion, right? And it's like it's just this kind of spectrum where they kind of fade out of being a religion. So you have these really, really progressive Christians that are metaphoricists, as I call them. Like everything's just a metaphor for, you know, these enlightened values and, you know, for love and peace and acceptance, and it's all just metaphors for the inner struggle and enlightenment and things like that. But at this point, it's kind of like pantheism, which is just like sexed up atheism. At this point, they're just using expressing modern ideals and values, but with religious language, right?
Do you see the benefits of that?
I do.
Like, say for talk's sake, you're into Dungeons and Dragons, or you're into gaming or something like that. You have your group, you have your crowd, you have something to get together and something to talk with. You know, a 60-year-old man's not really going to be into playing Halo. Thanks, Trustee Ape, for joining. You know, but they're going to be into something of the older nature, you know, bake sales and all that stuff that churches do. And if it gives them a community to be around and gives them a community, you know, provided, as I say, they're that church or close to it that I described, you know, there would be more benefits to it.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And I have a response. I thought about that, but I want to see what Trustee Ape wants to say about it. Trustee Ape?
Oh, I was just gonna say hello. I don't know if I'm gonna echo or not because my headphones for some reason aren't syncing up right now. But
Sounds perfect here,
yeah,
Kevin.
thanks for having me. I think we got through the lag I was having. So
A happy delayed birthday. It was last week, wasn't it?
yeah, yes, thank you much.
So what is your thoughts on it?
So, this is a common topic amongst the secular community, humanists especially, that trying to get atheists all on the same page about their values and trying to get them all on the same page in terms of organizing and building a sustainable community is like herding cats.
Yeah.
You just can't seem to do it. And there's been scientific studies about that, and what they found is that there's nothing more durable yet that we've been able to build than something with a religious theme, unfortunately. And so scientists, cognitive scientists, are trying to figure out why that's the case. Why you can't just have a group that's all about like love and community and science and stuff like that, and have it be as cohesive and as durable over a period of years and decades and generations. Why haven't we been able to like crack that code yet? There seems to be something about human psychology, not for every person, but for statistically many people, that they just need the extra hook of the narrative, a narrative that they can crouch their identity within, and to figure out how to create a secular version of that that can compete in terms of success, in terms of their ability as a way to bring people together. There's always going to be that advantage that religious communities have over us because they can provide that to people. And we are
so
social
wide,
creatures and we need that.
I think this is because religion is so wide encompassing that it has that. You know, atheism is one question, one answer, and all that sort of bollocks that we all talk about. I'm not going to say that there's a worldview with it or anything like that, but you know that it does with one sort of mindset of thinking. We usually follow up with a few other things. So there is that, but to a point, then we all diverge. You know, there's a lot of things that in the atheist community that people would get together over that I find boring as shit. There's channels people like I find boring as shit. There's things I love people find boring as shit. Because we all diverge on a personal level. Where I think with a church or a religion, it goes past that personal level. And, you know, if we could hang out and you only lived up around the corner, we're having a barbecue, you know, we could all get together over barbecues or something like that. They all have their bake sales. They have their Sunday service, you know. They have something that extends just past that one question. It becomes not a lifestyle, but a wide encompassing group activity. It's like, oh, well, I've got nothing for the wife to do. Well, we've got something for the wife to do. Ah, well, we can't because we've kids. Well, that's fine. We've got a thing going for the kids at the same time. So the kids can all be together and have friends, you know. They can give more to it. It is a lifestyle choice. Yes, Cupcake. By the way, thank you for everybody for coming. We've got Carol, we've got Amber, we've got Mada, we've got Savage. Hi, Savage. We've got Dargendorp. We've got all the cool people here. Any else I missed? Oh, Rab's here. Rab's mother used to babysit me whenever I was a baby. Known Rab a long time. Yeah, everybody in the chat, thank you for coming.
Hey, MathPig, can you turn my microphone down for me, or should I do it?
I've already sorted that.
Just a little. Oh, you've already done it?
I can do all that in my end, man. Yeah, it's all sorted.
All right. Yeah, Carol was saying it's a bit loud. And Carol's one of my favorite people. I really love seeing Carol here.
Yeah,
and of course, Gur and
yeah, Gur's streaming right now, but sure, what can you do?
Yeah, sure.
No, I like Carol. Carol's good, but she said that it's better now, so we did sort it, and Dargendorp said it's better. So I can adjust you on this and then adjust you on this as well to get a balance.
Awesome. Sorry, guys.
One like contrast that I think I see between like the online atheist community versus the religious groups is like the theists tend to be more like exclusive. I mean, they're really they're all targeting each other or some other group in a certain way. Where like the atheists, I think we tend to be just more inclusive of any type of other group, even if like there's more overlap. like we don't necessarily like have to like be into all the same stuff, but we identify on this one particular topic, and so we try to like, I think, go out of our way more now to have a, you know, a more inclusive and more diverse community, to where we're acknowledging all the overlap between the like the various differences between us and stuff, if that makes any sense.
The issues I would have with that would be, I don't think over this last maybe 2 years specifically that this online embrace thing has become on our side more inclusive. Now, I know that we would be more accepting of other people, but I think it becomes very cliquey because everybody is. So you have someone comes out and loves the color purple. You find 20 other people that love the color purple. All the atheists accept everyone who loves the color purple, but the people who love the color purple all hang around together and talk shit about the people who like the color red.
Yeah.
You know, so it's...
That's a concern.
Yeah, a little bit of that as well.
You know, it's... I don't know. Inclusive, yes. Maybe not so, but definitely open to other people and open to accepting other people, but...
So one thing I've noticed in church communities, in churches, is that before and after the meetings, there's always somebody who wants to hug everybody and shake hands and say hi to everybody because they're just social and thoughtful like that. But once that settles down a bit, people tend to form the same little groups. These 3 people over here, these 2 people over there, these 4 over there, that they form every Sunday, right? And so that seems to be a thing that people do. And the solution to that, at least in that kind of community, is for a leader to be aware of it and try to get people to interconnect more between the groups instead of letting them segregate off in their little informal groups. Like, let's get this person over here and let's get this person over there. Let's get them talking. Maybe they find something that they have in common. The leaders themselves could get to know these people, find out more enough about them,
and
then they could say, and then they could say, "Wow, you like this thing? So does John over there. He was just telling me about that."
Yeah.
Right? And then you become this social bridge for them. And I think there's not enough of that even in the Christian churches. I tried to do that in our community, but the problem is that most people in chat, they're just engaging with the topic. They're not really sharing a whole lot about their life. They share it in little tiny pieces, and you kind of like accumulate an understanding of who these people are over a period of many months or years.
Well, that's why this is better. This is why this is good. You know, there's a particular person who doesn't. I don't know if they're watching High Adventure. They don't like talking in live chat. They're a very personal and quiet person, but they do like having offline hangouts. You know, and they've tapped me a couple of times and things like that. And they're like, "Did you have any offline hangouts?" And I'm like, an offline hangout to me is me hanging with my friends afterwards where we get to know each other, you know, and that's the people. So it's hard to jump into that. So even though I was finished hanging out with everybody and stuff, I went and hung out with them for 40 minutes and we talked and got to know each other. So then I was like, next time I have a hangout, you're going to be in my mind, you know, I can vouch for you. You're, you know, you shared, and, you know, not just this person I know from text that wants to just jump straight in. You have to take these steps. You have to get to know these people and share yourself.
Absolutely. So it's a slow process, and with the format that we've got, but I try to facilitate that as much as possible. But on the larger scale, as far as atheists building a community, the problem with atheists getting together as atheists, right, and is that their rejection of religion or the criticisms of religion it isn't really a great theme to socially bond over after the anger's done. I mean, hate bonding isn't durable. Like, you need to be able to bond over what you like, what you love, what you value. And so the discussions, I think, a lot of times when we're engaged with each other and not with fundamentalists, I think it's important to frame as much of our discussions as possible about what we actually do value. So if our problem with a given religion is that it lacks compassion, it's great to talk about what compassion means to us and how we apply that in our lives and how we can foster that in our community and things like that.
That's something that I've been trying to do this week is, is making that reference to Jay whenever Jay asked earlier, Jay, when he was on your channel. He asked about these Christian channels when I mentioned that me jumping back and forth, and I mentioned on yours that I went on and just spent most of it talking and showing pictures from my holiday. on a Christian channel with lots of Christians. We didn't talk about religion. It was more getting to know people, agreeing that family is important, agreeing that, you know, family time is together is important, agreeing that we're too much into technology at the minute now and stuff like that. You know, we do need to go back to nature and things. Not going to be spiritual or anything like that on it, but you get what I mean, you know, with kids and things.
Yeah. And that's so incredibly important. I think that's more productive than any debate ever could be.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's just so many reasons for that. Like, so much I want to say about that. So one of them is that it's an unfortunate aspect of human psychology that we have this us versus them reflex. And for any atheists out there that think that they're completely immune to that, I bet you're not. It's a thing. It's a thing that lingers around in our psychology, and we can do it without even realizing it. Dr. Robert Sapolsky talks at length about this, and I'm not going to try to channel Sapolsky here in this video, but I will say that he's opened my eyes to a lot of things about myself that I didn't even realize, right? Mm-hmm. And so he talks about the trolley problem and about how if you give I don't know how familiar you are with his work.
I know of the name.
Okay, so the trolley problem, for example, they did the tests. They tested people with the trolley problem, and they got predictable answers. Mm-hmm. But then when you gave the nasal spray of oxytocin and asked them the same things again, but this time you give the hypothetical person on the tracks a name that sounds like a name that's part of their community, right? Like, so, you know, if you're an American, maybe his name is John.
Yeah.
But maybe the person on the other track, his name is Ahmud or something, right?
Yeah.
And if you get this, then all of a sudden they're a lot more likely to say, "I'm just going to run over Ahmud and save John."
I totally know. I don't know of this study, but I know of studies done in this way. I think the one I'm talking about was, I think it was children in school with their exam results, and it was they were giving them black names, and the teachers give them lower marks, even though it was a white child. They would put it down as a black name, and because of that, they would get a lower score. I think that's
right, and they're
similar.
Yeah, quite often they're not even consciously aware that they're doing this. Yep. And this is why I say that, you know, a lot of times people don't think that they're racist, but they may have something happening in their lower psychology, right, that they're not even consciously aware of, some kind of skew or bias that they don't even realize that's running around in their head. So, you know, it's a spectrum and it's complex, and being self-aware is always part of the journey. We're never all the way there. We're never all the way self-aware.
That's
we'll never
something
get there. It's
that, you know, pointing out about the church, and people can listen to me in this and saying I'm spending time in Christian channels and all the rest of it, and I've had some shit say and all that. I fucking don't care. I am who I am. But I think it's a benefit for my daughter to be raised in the presence of her mother, who would be a wee bit Catholic, which means they're religious, you know, and like every Catholic's a Protestant, every Protestant's an atheist. In Northern Ireland, anyway, right?
Sure.
It's a funny phrase from Northern Ireland, yeah. But her mum would be more religious and things like that. And Elena is of the awareness that when her grandfather died, he went to heaven, you know. But she was very aware of him dying. You know, the night he passed away, he went to the hospital, and I picked her up to take her away for the weekend. It was my weekend with her. We didn't know he was going to pass away, you know. But he'd been in and out of the hospital quite regularly, and we knew it was coming. And I said to her, you know, that she might not see Granda again. Cause sometimes when people go to the hospital, you know, they might not come back again. She goes, oh, he's not coming back. No, Granda's going up there to die. Granda's very sick. That's it, you know, but Granda's going to heaven. She's aware of that. I don't believe her mother has mentioned hell yet. I'm pretty sure she hasn't. And I don't think there's any reason to, because her mother wouldn't be of the aspect of, if you don't do what you're told, you're going to hell. They're not fundamentalists, you know. But I think it's a benefit for my daughter to be brought up in knowing both of them, because for talk's sake, in a really extreme version, she grew up not knowing of it, then found out about it at a later stage in her life, maybe in her 20s, and could be totally swept away by some fucking guy with long hair that she fell in love with, you know. And she's now in a cult. Growing up with it, she can learn and can see. She learns the differences and stuff like that between her. I'm constantly saying magic doesn't exist. You know, I'm very poignant about the whole magic doesn't exist thing. You know, ghosts and spirits. I do say tell her that they don't exist Although I will tell the truth, I don't know myself. Me ma's in the chat. She's told me some shit. I've seen some shit. I've experienced some shit. I'm agnostic on it. Although I tell my daughter no. Because I know her mother's telling her yes. So I'm just balancing it. You know, I don't want it to be 25 no, 25% no, and 75% yes. I have to be no to balance it, you know. But
that makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, I agree with that completely. In fact, I've seen and experienced some shit too. My official position is no. That shit doesn't exist. But I can't completely harmonize that position with some of the shit that I've seen and experienced. So, but, you know, and I've used this example before, this idea that if you're a parent and you have a first grader that comes home and they're tears and they're frantic. And I don't know if you were here the other day on my channel when I talked about this, but so they come home and
I've been following you since Thursday, man. Sorry, I did not know you existed until Thursday, but I've been loving it since.
Awesome. So I appreciate that. So the idea is the child comes home, your child, and they're absolutely beside themselves. They're afraid and they're in tears. And what happened was some children at school told them about the shadow monster.
And they've got a special. You cut out just there.
Some children at school taught them about the shadow monster. So they've got a special club, and you have to pay club dues, and you have to agree to the rules of the club for how you're supposed to, like, conduct yourself, like who you can be friends with and how you're supposed to feel about them and things you're not allowed to say and think and do and everything else. And if you don't join the club and swear the oath and make some sacrifices for the benefit of the people running the club on behalf of the shadow monster, then the shadow monster is going to take that personally, right? And the shadow monster might kill you or might torture you. And in fact, you better make sure that your parents want to join too, because he can come after them next. You just never know when he's going to show up. Day you think you're fine, next thing you're not. And they're like, don't risk it, right? You better join our club, pay the dues, agree to take the vow, make sacrifices.
Someone at school last year, maybe when she's 5 now, she'll be 6 in February. So I think she was about 3.5, maybe not quite 4. We start school in September, her birthday in February, so around that time or whatever. Someone at school told her that ghosts exist for the first time. I'll never forget that. I even had a call with her mother and everything. I was like, did you do this? Did you tell her that ghosts exist? Because she was petrified the first. She was like, I heard about it. It was maybe a month of her being afraid at night. You know, check everywhere and this, that, and the other. Because someone at school told her the idea of ghosts. And I told her mother, if I ever find the motherfucker that did that, I'll kill them. I'll fucking kill them. Now, I shout out to, I think it was Secular Pagan Mum, or it may have been Serpent Hyde, that suggested that I use a dream catcher. And use the idea of a dream catcher to be taking control of the situation. Okay, the ghosts are here, they see your bad thoughts and all that there, and they want to come and scare you. You use this as a controlling mechanism in the situation. So you tell her, this is here as a, like, she believes in the bad, she's going to believe in the good. It is manipulation, and I don't want to say ends justify the means, but it's showing to her that you can take control of a situation. She can be very an emotional person. I've mentioned this week alone from last weekend, I had to pull the car over and give her a hug because she heard Johnny Cash hurt for the first time and was upset, wanted to know why he was sad. Did he have no friends? Why did he hurt himself, Daddy? You know, she's a very emotional person, and it's trying to teach her, to give her the tools to deal with that. Breathe. Work with it.
Wow.
Think of the consequence, or not the consequences, think of the situation, you know. Try and work with it. Linda's just turned up. Linda, it's a pinned link. Come on in. I've been shouting your praises all night, Linda. Linda's the lovely old lady that let me take over her channel with my daughter's pictures. But yeah, that's the idea. I think it's a benefit that she is growing up with, you know, Catholicism, Christianity, whatever you want to, you know, the idea of that being there, the idea that heaven can exist, you know, having one parent say this, having one parent say the other, knowing, and I just think it's a benefit to her ability to think. I never tell her, I don't want to say that I never tell her no, but I would always give her a reason why. And if anyone here has kids, don't speak down to your kids. Get down on your fucking knees. Look your child in the eye. Sit them on your knee. You know, kids are smarter than what people give them credit for. Just talk to them. They understand.
Yeah.
Sorry, someone
Absolutely.
cut me off or I'll talk about my daughter all night. Linda, come on in.
So I hadn't considered that as an answer. Now my answer to this problem has been, you take a hard no. A hard no. Because if they get saddled with this, not only are those children in the club at school going to manipulate them and exploit them, but it's going to set them up for problems later in life where they're vulnerable to that kind of a gimmick. And if you take a maybe, if you say, well, I can't technically prove there's no shadow monster, then you leave that door open for that abuse. So we have to take a hard no about it, even though we can't technically prove there's no shadow monster. And I'm the same way when it comes to, you know, the boogeyman that a lot of religious people call God, right? So, you know, if a child ever asked, you know, came home and said, you know, I heard about this invisible man in the sky who's going to kill people and torture them or something unless they join the club, my answer is a hard no. It's not maybe. It's not, I don't know, I can't prove it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just no.
I've had the
but at the same
discussions with
time-
them.
Yeah, I mean, on a side note, that sounds like, you know, in your example, sounds a lot like extortion. I mean, it's, you know, which I think ultimately a lot of Christianity is as well. But
I think it is too.
All I want when it comes to the religious sort of part of my child's upbringing is the admittance of something from a mother. I'll never push. I'm aware. I don't try to be this anti-theist sort of person, you know. But it's like the child is technically a Catholic on her paperwork, on her birth certificate, because the religious ceremonies that her mother went through, hey Headless, are important to her upbringing because it's part of the culture, because the religion is very part of the culture, you know. On Tangelo, I have no idea why, but my AI always does not allow to auto-add you. It auto-added Headless, and you popped in and it's like, nope, don't like on Tangelo.
Must be God's will.
Anyway, the point I'm making is, if I can get the admittance from her that this is the reasons why. I just want the truth. If she says the reasons why I want my daughter to be blessed is because I really think that the earth is 6,000 years old and she's going to heaven or not going to heaven if this doesn't happen, then yeah, I'm going to fight for custody of my daughter and we don't need to have this conversation. But if she says to me, it's because I went through it and it's a family get-together, then fine, I can deal with that. I know where you then stand on the religious nature of it, so I will go as far as you ask me to, even though it seems in other people's eyes further than what's necessary. I know the person that it's important to doesn't take it to that stage, but still necessarily needs it for that family, that community, that thing.
Right.
You know? So I will grant that if she grants the honesty to me. And I think that that's just worked out brilliantly for our daughter. You know? Obviously, I'm biased as a father, but
I mean, I can't fault whatever works for you. I'm not going to say that you should do something different than that. These are hard decisions we have to make, and it seems like you've thoughtfully worked it all out and found a way to
her godmother's an
create
atheist as well.
Nice.
You know, these are the balances that you make. You know, but hi Headless, hello on Tangelo.
So what's the discussion today?
The discussion has been me going over my experience this last week. Christian channel hopping between this little community that I've came across and the infighting and the importance of, especially from an American point of view, you know, my church is better than your church because yours says works and mine's this and it's, you know, over here in the UK, the idea is doesn't matter if you're Church of Ireland, which is basically the Protestant version of Catholicism. Doesn't matter if you're, you know, Presbyterian. Doesn't matter if you're, you know, a lot of people even take the point, doesn't matter if you don't believe in God or go to church. If you have this idea and you're a good person, you're all going to heaven. Where in America, if you don't align with me and go to the same church as me, then, you know, you're ostracized to a point. And it's the idea, clickbaity sort of title, which church is right? Why is it important to fight and line up and stuff?
Right. So we got the Catholics and the Protestants here disown each other as not real Christians, and Trinitarians and Unitarians do the exact same thing, and then the guys that like believe that there's a literal hell and it's a place of inescapable torture, and you have the other ones that say no, it's not that at all. It's just like this vague sort of separation from God, and other ones that say it's just destruction, you won't exist anymore.
Over here, people don't talk about that shit. They talk about it at church, and you talk about it with the people that you talk about with, and then outside of that, you know, they don't really. The God thing isn't very important over here because it's not on the American pedestal for God is about 20 stories bigger than the pedestal for God over here. You know, the pedestal for God, even for Christians, is like that's God, and it's just a little bit higher than science. And it's only because it releases that, you know, responsibility and shit, like, you know. But it's nearly the same.
I think there's something kind of uniquely American about that. It's like not just we do it with religion, but we do it with a lot of other things, with like war, and we're very just kind of frivolous, and we just kind of throw these things out there. Oh, we're the best, and we're gonna crush you, and that's kind of the way our various like religious the offshoots have all gone into that kind of same mentality. And I think a lot of it's just talk there quickly say, oh, well, they're just going to hell, you know. Oh, but we'll pray for them, you know. But it's like they just throw it out there like it's lost a lot of its meaning in that sense.
Right.
Sorry.
So I can think of all kinds of reasons why that happens in America. It's a complex set of situations. America is built on a social platform of punching down. And so you have... Go ahead.
No, that was it. I was totally answering your rhetorical question again.
Oh, okay. Very good. So you have like some immigrants come over, and now they're the new people, and they're looking to steal your land and your jobs or change your way of life because they're not from the same place you're from. And then, so you're punching down, right? And then eventually another wave of immigrants comes in, but they're from some other place. And so now the people that were here first and the people that were here second, they're now both demographics are now punching down to the new guys again, right? And you know, you come over here and you're stealing our jobs and our women and our land and whatever else. We don't want you here. Like, we have a certain way of life. We got a groove going on. You guys are going to mess up our groove, and then it keeps happening for wave after wave of immigrants. And at some point, we just became so institutionalized into that sort of social dynamic, this whole punching down thing, and so in this very dysfunctional framework, you ended up with governments that realized that they could really tap into that whole tribalism thing to kind of try to unify the people to some extent, and to get people to be more supportive of the government and the people that are in the government. And so now we have a whole nother like platform of tribalism, us versus them, that's being put into the societal consciousness. Now, to some measure, it makes sense, right? Because you run a society, you want it to be prosperous, and you know, it's always a matter of how much do you want to sacrifice for other countries, or how much do you want to provide for your own. And I think that's going to change eventually. I think we'll be more of a global economy and globally thinking. But right now, we're still stuck in this. You know, as long as we can protect our own, we don't really care that much about what happens to people outside of our borders.
That's one thing that I would always make a point of with my wee girl, because she has the speed force. So sometimes she wants to race and your hands are fucking full of shopping and she's just running to the door, you know. The odd time she would go, depending on what she says, you know what I mean when I refer to if you win, you go neener, neener, neener. Yeah?
Yeah.
And it's... You don't go neener, neener, neener. If you're better than someone else, it's okay to win. You don't rub it in their face. You then teach them how to do better. They may never win, but you teach them to be better. You show that you can do that rather than neener, neener, neener.
Right. And that's the sentiment that I try to bring to my discussions with fundamentalists. Because I don't posture as, you know, I'm better than you of this, that, and the other. I just explained that, you know, here's the benefits I get from thinking outside of that paradigm, right? Here's why I find it valuable. And they'll just tell me the same thing back. Here's why they find their paradigm valuable, and why they think that it works out better for them, or why they think it would work out better for me. And we just push back and forth on that idea. But I try not to posture as a moral superior to anybody. And I'm just like, here's what works for me, and here's how I think it would be a better world, right? And a lot of times the point that I make is, I'm like, look, Suppose everybody joined a certain religion. What would happen? And now compare that to a world where everybody's just more of an individual and it's not about these religious segregations. Which world is going to be more violent? Which world is going to be more inclusive? Every time there's been a theocracy in a country, it's gone very, very badly for people, right?
So what would be if everyone would follow Christ's first command and the golden rule to love each other as ourselves? Would that better in society?
In principle,
you're quite
I
low.
agree.
If I can say on Tanzilo, you're quite low. Do you need me to boost it, or you need to bring your mic a wee bit closer? Now we've lost you altogether. Can't hear you.
Yeah, I changed the setup. I don't know if it's better now.
I'll just turn you up. You sound crystal clear, but don't worry, I'll sort it in my end.
Okay.
Tangibly, in principle, I agree. We want a more loving, compassionate world. Here's the problem with that: when you have a large group of people, small or large, I guess it doesn't matter, that are religious fundamentalists.
Unmute on
They're
Tanzilo.
gonna.
Please unmute on Tanzilo so I can change your mic settings.
Oh, Tangelo, we need you to unmute.
Yeah, it all looks weird until you unmute. Thank you. Okay, go on ahead.
All right, so I don't want to like railroad over Otangelo. I want to give him a chance to talk. I just want to make this one point. And Sam Harris made the same point. If you suppose that there is an afterlife, and that the conditions for getting into that afterlife are compliance with a certain set of ideals, right? And they're very religious specific, right? You have to like worship the right God and worship Him the right way. And if you don't, you're going to end up going to some kind of hell. And if you do, you get into heaven. And that's what life is really all about. The problem with that kind of infrastructure, despite the best of intentions, is that look at St. Augustine and St. Aquinas, like their values and views. Like, they weren't out there torturing people personally, but the debate that rages between two schools of thought there is that they should, one thought maybe we should persecute, hunt down and kill heretics, and the other thought maybe we should hunt down, torture heretics into repentance, and then kill them. Because here's the thing. If you really love somebody within that context, you want to make sure that you have the best possible outcome for them and for your family, for your community, for your society, for the world. You want the best possible outcome, right? Yeah. That's what you do when you love somebody. And so within that framework, the best possible outcome is making sure they have the best chance of getting into heaven, the best chance of avoiding hell, and your best chance of making sure that they don't spread their heresies to your family members and to your community. In that context, the most loving thing you can do is torture them, is capture them, is kill them, right? Because you torture them into repentance, into confession, they've got a good chance that God might forgive them. And if you kill them in that state, good chance that they're not going to backslide and have a chance to end up in hell again. And you're protecting the community by at least capturing them, if not killing them, because then they can't spread their heresies to other people.
Yeah,
so within that, go ahead.
You're basically erecting a straw man and then shutting it down. I don't know any Christian, far and close, that thinks the way you portrayed it.
Neither do I.
I, as a Christian, well, then why are you making such nonsensical claims?
Because if we ended up with a society that became, where Christianity became the thing everybody agreed on as a theme, right? And so we end up where the government is then also going to end up as a theocracy. The problem with that is, and this is what I tried to explain to Christians so often, not Christians but fundamentalists, the version of Christianity you get wouldn't be the one you love. It would be this hardcore totalitarian theocracy that would get increasingly more violent and more exclusionary. They would end up hunting down heretics. They would end up with doing all the things that you don't believe in. You don't want to see.
What has to do with theocracy and what you are claiming right now, James?
This is what I'm trying to.
You are again making things up. You are making a straw man again.
I think, if I can say, I don't think what he's trying to do is make a straw man. I think what he's trying to do is make an extreme to show a point.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a straw man. I think he's aware that technically it's a straw man, but he's making it an extreme to get the point across. It's like, you don't
But
push a
I
baby
think
in
he
front of a
has
car,
no
you push it in
point,
front of a car.
MathPig.
Well,
I
here's
think he has no
my point.
but he's not portraying a scenario which is really related to reality, and I don't
Oh,
think that the golden rule has anything to do with theocracy and with killing people in order that they go to heaven and all these kind of assertions that James is making. That's why
well,
I am saying that he is basically portraying a straw man, because that has nothing to do with the golden rule. And the bottom line here is, if everyone would really follow Christ's golden rule to love God and to love the next, that would better society, because loving the next means also respecting the next and what others believe. And I think maybe not all Christians, but we try to convey that others, they have the rights to believe differently. If you hold an atheistic or an anti-Christian belief, as long as you don't impose it on me or on others, you have your total right to believe it and to hold to it, and you have your total freedom. So I don't agree with you, James, that the golden rule entails that someone, in order to love others, would kill or torture just that they go to heaven. This is just nonsense.
Well, if I could
I
ask
can
you...
address.
Well, no, go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
James.
So here's the thing. I clarified when I first started explaining this. If a person holds to short list of specified religious doctrines, because if they don't hold to that list and they just have this general sort of theism, then we can have that discussion separately. What I said was, learn from history. Learn that the reason why there were these inquisitions and these heresy hunts and witch hunts and all things about history isn't because they didn't believe in the golden rule. They did. It's because when you combine the golden rule with those of doctrine, you end up with a skewed idea of what love is. Theocracies always turn out badly for that reason. Power corrupts.
James, it is completely irrelevant how people have distorted the Christian and Christ's message and used it to basically do exactly the opposite to what the golden rule is and says.
What we
You
talked
cannot
about earlier,
blame
James.
Christ
I think
if
James is in
people have
agreement with that.
distorted and used and misused it for their own purposes and tortured witches and killed people because they didn't believe. They have just not followed what Christ has said. So you are, of course, free to blame religion, which is misinterpreting what Christ said. And I agree with you on that these are all bad things. But what I am saying is that the pure Christian message is love God in first place and love your next in the first place. And if someone actually follows that rule, that betters human well-being and human society. And it doesn't matter if people misunderstand that rule. Now, in contrast, atheism doesn't provide anything positive to society because it has no rules, it has no commands, it has no moral duties or values.
Yeah, I had to do that. Nothing positive. Oh, Michael's here. No, I've loads of time. Hold on, night chat. No, I got an hour. I thought it was like, you need to stop streaming, fucker. I'm going now.
No, of course not.
Sorry,
No,
I wasn't trying to be rude there on tangent. I'm just trying to make... Atheism brings nothing positive to society is a statement I disagree with. Didn't want to cut you off. Had to kick you.
Well, MathPig, I'd like to ask you a question. You're an atheist, correct?
Atheist, oh, fuck me. Right, you just waited
you
waited till the philosopher come into the room.
Just answer my question. You're an atheist, correct?
You waited till the philosopher come into the room, but to give the philosophy answer, I am atheistic towards the Christian God, but agnostic in general.
That's fine. Okay, I'll take that as a yes, okay? We'll give just a simple answer of yes.
That's never simple!
Okay. Anyways, my point's this. You don't have a book then that tells you not to commit murder, right?
I have a mother that would disown me.
You don't have a list of rules written on paper that tell you not to do certain things?
I don't know. Poor Granny's in the chat. You can ask her. That's where I get my basic morality.
She's the one who beat it into you not to go around killing kittens, right? Right.
Okay, we'll not talk
But you
about
don't
the
need-
kitten in the
I'm just
bucket.
saying,
No,
you
yes,
don't need a,
yes, we
you
will
don't
agree.
need a list in a book or post it on a bulletin board somewhere telling you the do's and don'ts.
Yes.
Because you live in a greater society where everyone just agrees killing kittens is wrong. Don't do it.
Well, there was this whole incident with the kitten in a bucket and shit, but one, like, you know, I didn't kill the cat, but we forgot about it, and then, wrong to kill cat.
That's just semantics.
Yeah, let me answer to that. I hear that very often to my argument, and they say the counter argument goes, well, if you need a holy book in order to do what is right, then you are a fucked up person. Okay, so my answer to that is that we have all certain inclinations, and Jeffrey Dahmer, he brought that perfectly to the point. He said, if evolution is true, and if there is no God, then what is it that constrains me in order to follow my instincts and to do evil? There is nothing, and basically I'm just a product of slime, and that's it. So my bottom line of this is, if you are tempted to do evil, and you don't believe that there is a creator which punishes evil, then your threshold to actually go and do it is lower. That's why I think atheism is evil.
I mean, I have a counter to that, but I don't want to step on anybody else if somebody wants to take that on.
I wanted to ask an Untangelo, a non-Untangelo question, you know, relevant to the topic today. Untangelo, would you enforce and make the point that your belief, whether it be personal or aligning with other churches and stuff, is the correct way? Are you under the belief that anyone else who doesn't align with that under Christianity is doing it wrong and goes to hell, or is it everyone's the same or whatever? That's what the title's about, that's what the question's about. So evolution and the shroud and all that bullshit aside, I'm asking you that.
Yeah, Jesus said, I am the truth, the way, and life.
That's wonderful.
Nobody
If I had
comes-
Jesus here, I would thank him for his opinion. Can you give me yours?
Yeah, I am giving you mine.
Okay.
And he said, nobody comes to the Father than through me.
No, now
So
you're...
it is not about religion. It is not about which church is right. It isn't about which church that you are visiting. The thing is, what is your position in regards of the person Jesus Christ? In my understanding, this is the key point which decides your eternal destination and your fate. That's it. It's not the church.
I mean,
And adding
anyone,
on that, and adding to that, it is also not doing good deeds which saves us, but it is just faith in Jesus and what he did on the cross for us.
Okay, right. That's fine. I'll take that answer, because I was going to say, it's not this thing, it's this thing, but your thing is just the belief, which is good. Michael, I'm assuming...
yeah, I'm glad...
Oh.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying, Michael, I assume from you just saying hello and then popping on, you haven't had much of a chance to watch anything.
No, I listened to it a little bit in the car as I was going to go pick up dinner for my wife and I. But
If anyone doesn't know, let me just check the timing, I think 40 minutes. Yeah, 50 minutes. We will be ending this. We will go into Michael's channel, and then we will be coming back here to have an after party if we can get the people. Michael will be having a chat with my former great leader, although still very wonderful, Christopher Marty, on the idea of consciousness, the psychology of consciousness. So that'll definitely be something we want to check out. And then, as I say, anyone watching that wants to talk about it afterwards, we'll be having a small after party here. After that. So other than that, yeah, Michael, go on ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna. I don't want to derail the conversation that has happened, and I think James was going to say something. I was just going to make a comment about atheism and morality. So, yeah.
Well, I want to hear it.
You were okay.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Well, I was just going to say, I was going to direct everyone, if they're interested in this, there's because I hear this a lot tossed around. I mean, of course, within philosophy, there's a branch of philosophy called ethics. Ethics deals with this question of how we orient our life, what determines rightness and wrongness. But there's this classical question, and it goes all the way back to Plato's Euthyphro. It's called the Euthyphro dilemma. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
I so know the Euthyphro. Shout out to Geo. Shout out to GEOSAM and the Euthyphro dilemma.
So, Euthyphro's dilemma. So it takes place within the context of the Socratic dialogues, specifically the trial and death of Socrates. It goes the Euthyphro, the Apology, the Crito, and the Phaedo. I think I may have gotten that wrong, but that order. And it starts off with a conversation between Socrates and a man named Euthyphro. They both are appearing at court. And forgive me for being long-winded. There's a point to this. They're both appearing at court. Socrates is appearing at court because he's being tried for corrupting the minds of the youth, which we find out in the Apology. Euthyphro's there because he's trying his own father for murder, the murder of a slave, right? And so Socrates and Euthyphro have this dialogue, and basically what it boils down to is Socrates says, well, Euthyphro, if you are committing to charging your own father with murder, surely you have an understanding of what piety is, of what goodness is. And then Euthyphro gives out a couple of different definitions of what that is. I'll spare y'all all the details. I teach this like every semester in Intro to Philosophy. I really love it. But the takeaway of the debate, of the dialogue between Socrates and Euthyphro wants to argue that what is good, what is morally right, is based on the gods' opinion, what the gods say is morally right. So why shouldn't we kill people? Well, because the gods tell us not to kill people. And you can substitute this for any form of divine command theory, right? So this applies to any religious tradition in which the gods or God says, don't do this, don't do that. And what Socrates' rebuttal, it's a very famous rebuttal in philosophy. Socrates asks Euthyphro the question, well, is it wrong to do these actions because the gods tell us not to do them, or are these actions wrong in and of themselves, right? So even if we didn't hear from the gods, even if we did not have the gods' opinions, would these actions still be wrong? And I bring this up because I often hear from theists, well, atheist, or these things are wrong because God tells us, and this is the objective foundation for morality. Well, even if you take that position, you're still left with Euthyphro's dilemma, which is, well, why is God commanding these things? Are they wrong in and of themselves? And if you say yes to that question, well, wouldn't it be possible for somebody who doesn't believe in God to come to discover those ethical truths, right? If they're not dependent upon divine revelation, so to speak, right? That's just what I was going to add. Sorry to ramble there. James, go ahead.
No, I'd like to hear Tangela's response to that, if possible.
Yeah, I thought that you guys know the response. It is very common knowledge already that God's moral laws and duties, they emanate from his nature. So that basically solves this dilemma.
Michael, do you feel like that solves the dilemma?
I don't know if Tangelo really wants to get into a debate on that, but what emanates from God? Why? Like, what is, I guess, what is emanation, and why does God's emanation reflect in these specific moral laws? Is there something inherent in the laws themselves? Is that why they're emanating from God? I mean, there's a lot of theological language to unpack there, but yeah.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you that this can give a very prolonged philosophical conversation, certainly. But for example, God reveals himself as the truth. So obviously anything which is not true is bad, right? So this is just an example.
Emanation is
Yes.
also a very Platonic language, by the way. I don't know
Yeah.
if you're a Platonist or Tangelo, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not much versed in philosophical concepts, so yeah.
Mhm.
Fair enough.
Are you
So
excited
Tangelo has
about
said
tonight, Michael?
What's that?
Are you excited about tonight?
I'm really excited because, well, yeah, I don't want to tell you why I'm excited. I don't want to derail the conversation. So, James, what were you going to say?
Oh, I'm good either way. I'm not married to any particular line of discussion. I'm not going to get anywhere with Tangelo. I've tried before and had it out in more detail, and it just doesn't go anywhere. Tangelo's position is if there is no God, then anything goes. Like, you can't establish an objective foundation of morality. And I tried to explain the subjective nature of morality to Tangelo, and he just, I guess, wasn't understanding what I was telling him. So
Doesn't listen.
Well, I don't
Yeah, I
think that
can't-
I don't understand your position, James. It's more that I simply disagree with it.
Well, you're welcome to disagree, but it doesn't change anything, right? Like, presuppositionalist apologetics don't impress me at all. Like, because I could just presuppose eating penguin or presuppose
It has
SpongeBob.
nothing to do with presupposition, James. And you know me long enough. I know to know that I am still,
Hey,
let's
Skylar.
say, a baby when it comes to use presuppositional apologetics. I am still learning and trying to understand it. Mostly I tried by a very famous apologist, but I'm not getting very far, at least not up to now, to say, okay, I am secure myself to use it as my main horse, let's say, of apologetics. So I still stick mainly to the evidentialist approach.
Yes,
I understand.
'cause
So,
it's
if we suppose that there's no way to have an objective basis of morality without a God, then, then my response is, if I grant that, so what? They don't have an objective basis for morality, so what? And you can say that then we have no reason to, like, not go around raping and pillaging and killing and whatever, and I'm like, I have plenty of reasons to not go around doing that stuff. If somebody else feels like they need a super father in the sky to set their boundaries for them and tell them what right and wrong is, otherwise they can't think of a good reason not to go around, like, destroying society, then that just speaks to your psychology. It doesn't speak to mine. It doesn't speak to the truth of the human experience.
No, the crux of the issue, which is my view, James, is that once you remove God from the picture, then you have no ought to be's anymore. And moral values, they are instituted from above. So there has to be someone above us which institutes them. And once you remove that entity, then it boils down basically to opinion. I have an opinion, you have an opinion. It's basically opinion against opinion.
Okay.
And that opinion can be different, but mine is not more worthy or binding than yours. That's why I say, in the end, if there is no God, you have no objective moral values, and then you have no moral values whatsoever anymore. In the end, Stardust doesn't care about our sex life or whatever.
Right. Ranting gets nowhere, anybody nowhere, because it's a really long answer that says nothing. You went over our objective morality and lots of different things and all that there, and I can totally accept that. The Christian opinion is that objective morality is subjective to God's opinion. That's my opinion of it. Just leave it at that. Doesn't need to move on and all the rest of it. It's a load of fucking bollocks and you end up with no opinion. Okay?
Well, I think that was my fault. I kind of pushed it there.
Oh, no. We're blaming Tangelo for everything. It's all on
No,
Tangelo's
I don't
fault.
think that's fair. I'll take the blame.
Tangelo takes the joke. All right.
I
Anyway,
started it.
it's the same
a lot
old
of us
bollocks.
come down
Skylar,
to-
I want to say thank you very much for coming in and
Word,
joining.
man.
I caught a wee bit of you on Clubhouse earlier, but I was lost all track of time in this last couple of days because I've had COVID and been off work, so I was dozing and awake and dozing and awake. Oh,
Yeah,
no
just
symptoms.
interject here quick. Skylar was very afraid.
I was talking. Me. You had a rant. I pointed out how you ranted. Me.
Well, listen, Angelo, I'm not. I mean, anytime you just want to come and talk one-on-one, we can talk one-on-one. I'm not really afraid of you at all.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I know. I think a lot of it. I think what James was kind of talking about too. It's not. It is some of it. We don't need a rule maker to know what's right or wrong in a sense, but also, you know what? I just don't want to do those things, right? Like I don't want to go hurt women. I don't want to do these things that were listed. It's just not me. It's not in my nature to do those things.
But that's precisely the crux of the issue, Skylar. We all have that notion of what is wrong and what is right. And then in the end, the question is, where does that notion come from? Because it's not something physical. And there comes my theology in. I believe that God gives us that sense of morality.
I said it earlier,
that
poor
we know
granny.
that killing people for fun is wrong and all the other stuff.
I don't need God to tell me shit's wrong. I got my mother in the chat that taught me good morals.
Well, also too, we all don't agree though. That's if we all agreed on the same morality would be one thing, but we don't, right? We have all your whole religion doesn't believe homosexuality is moral. You guys think it's an immoral action, and I don't. I naturally don't think it is immoral to be gay or to commit homosexual acts. And I mean, there's other things we could, and then of course you just compare culture to culture. There's all types of different cultural things. You see that the reasons we have similarities isn't based on some kind of God up in the sky. It's because of environment and standards, like within our society that we have. That like, and I mean not like standards in the sense standards we set, but like we only have a certain level of poverty, right, compared to certain things. We have a certain level of education. We have a certain level of whatever. It's all included in our environment. And, you know, and of course, if we have an environment that's similar, right, we as Americans, like I'll give you some for instance, right? Like Americans and Australians are like two of the strongest countries when it comes to this concept of, how do you say it? Like you're the one who has to do everything. Like you have to get it done yourself. Right. Most of the world thinks about it in family terms, like people live with their mom and dad way longer. Families live in the home much longer than we do. Like we have this like ultra independent notion in this country. And it's because of our environment, because of the way we've grown up, our school systems and things. So, you know, and the only way you get to anything that's like close to a universal opinion, right, is by doing things where you add for fun to things that already people would think are horrible.
Yeah, but the thing, Skylar, is that these things actually exist. And once we have established a degree just on one moral duty, which we know is universally existing, the question is, where does that notion come from once we know it is not something physical which imposes that certain behavior is wrong?
Well, couldn't that notion be, sorry.
No, go ahead, Michael, please. No, please.
Couldn't that notion be human reason?
I don't think that reasoning has much to do with morality.
Couldn't we all like get together and decide like what would be the best, let's say, communication strategies for a stream, and agree that like we're not going to talk over each other, and that we're not going to insult each other, and that we're not going to like, you know, call each other names, and that we could kind of come to this objective standard through all communicating with each other and agreeing what would be best for the whole?
I think that misses my point, Michael. What I am saying is that the fact that there is a universal moral standard and duties which we all agree upon, that certain things are wrong. The question is, why is that notion or understanding, why does it exist? It is not something physical which imposes that certain things are morally wrong. If it's not something physical, what is it?
It doesn't exist. So why are you asking why? You're asking why a non-existent thing exists.
Well, I mean,
it doesn't exist.
Also,
okay. So give me a.
We just agreed to not overtalk each other, and everybody overtalked each other. That was wonderful. James asked a question. I'll let Matt and Angelo retort, and then I'll ask Skylar to ask his question as well. Then after that, Antangelo.
MathPig, I'm sorry, but I don't have that written in my book of rules that says I can't overtalk people.
It's in my rules, and you see, if you,
Oh, okay.
you can try it, right? I'll talk, you try and overtalk me. Blah 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 blah. See, you see.
Yeah.
Objective foundation right there, yeah.
So, on
Yeah, I
Tangela,
try
would you
not
like to
to
answer
talk.
James's question? Then Skylar can ask his, please.
Yeah, I lost the train of thought. Can you ask again, please?
Which universal moral idea do people have? What is that?
It is in any circumstance wrong, independently of anyone's opinion, to torture, kill little babies for fun.
You think everybody agrees with that?
Can you give me an example where it is morally okay or even good to behave and do such things?
No. Let's not get confused about this. We're not talking about what I think. You're saying that there's a thing everyone agrees on. And I'm saying, no, there isn't.
Okay, let me correct
Skylar's
here.
Bader's
I
majestic.
say, let me be very precise and clear here. My statement is that it is in any circumstance wrong to torture, kill babies for fun.
Right, let's
It
not
doesn't
talk.
matter if someone says otherwise.
What? But that's not. That's just making a claim, right?
Okay, would you agree on that claim? Yes or no?
Well, not objectively. I wouldn't say it's an objective moral.
Okay, so then you need to give me an example where it is morally okay or all right
That's
to
burden
behave
shifting.
like that.
That's burden shifting. You made the claim. You've got to demonstrate the claim.
Okay, that is my claim, and if you disagree, give me an example where it is okay to behave like that.
That's burden shifting. And I'm not saying it's okay. See, you're switching the language here, right? You're taking it into an objective standard in your assumption in your statement. You're assuming that something is wrong outside of your mind, right? And you haven't been able to demonstrate that's the case yet.
I don't think it is necessary to demonstrate it because I think that all of us here in the room can agree together that it is objectively wrong to behave that way.
But that would even let's just grant you. Let's just say everybody in the room agrees with you, which I'm pretty sure everybody agrees. We don't want to torture babies for fun. Okay, I think it's pretty solid. But I can assume that people in this room agree with that, right? That doesn't make it objective, because every one of us could have come to that conclusion based on subjective standards.
Well, if all agree on that, then it becomes objective.
No, it's universal.
Well,
Now, it's not even universal. All it means is everybody in the room believes in that. Go ahead, my man.
Right. Yeah, so since we don't have any child torturing psychopaths in the room right now, I'm going to play devil's advocate, and for the context, for the next 30 seconds, I am a child torturing psychopath who thinks it's great fun to torture and kill babies.
Bad man.
So now what? Because those
MathPig
people
is a
exist. Yes, I'm a
channel,
bad
right?
man for the next 30 seconds.
Just to say, MathPig
Okay.
does not agree with anything that will now next come out of James Harrison's mouth. This is not
Nothing.
relevant to the
For the
channel.
next 30 seconds, nobody agrees. Yep.
By monetization,
Those great. There are
by
examples of this throughout history. There are tons of people who've hurt babies and abused babies and enjoy doing it for fun, right? So obviously, under their moral system, they found it was right. So now you don't have a universal.
Well, the thing is that it is wrong independently if certain psychopaths think it's all right to do so.
But that you're not. I'm sorry. Yeah. If it's wrong independently, separate from the psychopath's mind, but you're just begging the question. You're just assuming that it's wrong independently of the psychopath's mind.
Well, yes, this is an axiom. I am not grounding it some sort of deeper. Okay, so since that is a true axiom, the question is, where does it come from? It is not something physical which dictates that to behave that way is wrong. So if it's not something physical, what is it that
That's not
puts
an
in our
axiom.
minds?
That's not an axiom, what you're describing. It's a conclusion that you've come to. You didn't, this isn't something you would even thought of as a child. This isn't something you just have to assume in order to exist. and to be
Well, the
rational.
bottom line here is that I think we all can agree here and understand that behaving in this way is objectively wrong.
No, that's the argument that you're claiming. And see, that's what I'm saying. It's just not, this isn't a good argument from you, Tangelo. You're just going to have to be stuck with this idea. It's okay that you believe in objective morals. That's fine. But don't expect other people to live up, to live up to the standard. And like I said, you know what would happen, Otangelo, if I started listing off things that I can guarantee the rest of us in the room, except for you, would agree is wrong, objectively wrong, right? Right. If I said owning people as property, wrong. How many people in the room would? I think I would say owning people's property is wrong. Pretty sure everybody else would, right? Ordering people to execute children, I'm going to say I'm pretty comfortable in saying that most people in this room are going to say it's wrong, except for you, right? Because your objective morals can't say that. And I mean, other things I could point out too. So like the fact you have to add the word for fun to hurting children, right, doesn't help your case.
Okay, let me give you here a formal argument I will read here. One, there exist objective moral truths. Slavery and torture.
We're done. You're already done. You haven't demonstrated premise one yet.
Okay, let me just finish the syllogism.
Sure, that's good.
Okay, so there exist objective moral truths. Torturing babies and killing them for fun is actually wrong. Two, these objective moral truths are not grounded in the way the world is, but rather in the way the world ought to be. Three, the world itself, the way it is, the laws of physics or physical being, cannot account for the way the world ought to be. Four, the only way to account for morality is that God established morality. Five, therefore God exists.
Perfect. Can we use that? Can we use that premise? We're going to use your same premise and conclusions, right? Read the first premise for me.
There exist objective moral truths.
Let's grant that. We'll just grant that for a minute. We're going to grant that for a minute. Premise 2, what was your premise?
These objective moral truths are not grounded in the way the world is, but rather in the way the world ought to be.
Perfect. We'll just accept that one. That's premise 2. Premise 3.
The world itself, the way it is, the laws of physics or physical being, cannot account for the way the world ought to be.
Did we skip the one that was mentioning the evil thing that we were doing? Or was that premise 4? Because I didn't hear it yet.
It was premise 1, actually.
Okay, so
no,
you said objective morals were premise 1.
Yes, there exist objective moral truths. Torturing and killing babies for fun is not just distasteful to us, but is actually wrong.
Just replace torturing babies for fun with owning people as property. And does that syllogism work?
Well, why don't we just stick?
Well, no, I'm just saying. I'm just asking.
I know. You are trying to derail, and then you want to go to.
Listen, would that syllogism work if we just changed the killing babies for fun to owning people as property?
Skylar, you want to derail the issue, and then you want to start to point out the things in the Old Testament. I know your shtick. So
I didn't mention the Bible.
Hey, hold on. Did you? I don't think Skylar or anybody here insulted you, and I give you a lot of rain on Tangelo for coming on here and all the rest of it. You just called him thick. That's insulting. That's all right. I'll just kick you to the back.
Stick like my stick that I do.
All right, I heard him calling you thick. No fucking. Be respectful of each other. All right.
No, I didn't call. I'm respectful. Skylar knows.
The only thing thick about that man's his beard, his big, beautiful, luscious beard.
But once again, like I said, like all we do is just change your premise a little bit, right?
No, it is not about if the Old Testament God
I didn't mention the Bible.
Things to do. Yes, but I know you would go there because you've gone there today.
I didn't mention the Bible. I just gave you an example of something that should be immoral. Right?
You went there today in Clubhouse. I know you tracked where you want to go, and it's not about this.
Well, I mean, okay, how about we could do taking women and children as plunder.
The only thing here that we try to elucidate is, do objective moral duties exist? Yes or no? That's the issue on the table.
Well, that's
nothing else.
That's your job to demonstrate it, and you haven't done it. I just used your own syllogism.
Hello, Terry. Evening, Terry. Evening, Terry. Thank you for joining. I just got you on
How you doing? Am I the only Christian on the panel?
Well, you've got on Tanslow. You've got on Tanslow.
I don't know if Talendro is a Christian, but I hear a lot of accusation about scripture and the misrepresentation. I have one question. Is it wrong for a person who feels like if they're in a situation where they're poor and they hand themselves over, or they determine to become a servant willingly? Is that wrong to be to offer yourself as a servant?
Yeah, do you know, right, Terry, I appreciate your question. I'm going to throw one at you. Is it wrong to completely join a stream out of the blue, take the topic, throw it out the window, and then make it all about you? Is that wrong?
It would be wrong if that's what I did. I went to the last claim that was being made, which was what? Is it wrong?
Technically, technically, Skylar brought up slavery, so it's all Skylar's fault. I can't say that. It is a wee bit.
And to be fair, I didn't talk about indentured servitude, which is what you're talking about.
Because he was claiming that.
Actually, I said owning people as property. That's what I said.
Yeah, owning people as property. Your understanding of.
I didn't say anything about the Bible.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just trying to add my little 2 cents to it. I want to know, is it wrong for a person who willingly gives themselves over to servitude? And when I'm talking about servitude, it's not slavery, not being beaten up, not being lesser, but a person who is poor, who wants to be incorporated inside of the congregation of Israel and says, hey, I want to be part of your people, but I don't have money, I don't have a place to stay. I will become a servant. Why is that wrong?
Do you consider that owning someone as property?
We'll put it in quotation as that, yes. I have no problems with that.
Well, that's not real. That's a job, is what it sounds like you described.
So that's basically what's been.
Wait a second.
That's what's being prescribed in scripture.
Delrix, Skylar, how about a job where you don't get paid?
Yeah, I mean, listen. Like I said, I have no problem with the idea of if you're paying off a debt, that's one thing. But that's not what happened with women. Women were bought and sold their property. If we're going to talk about the Bible,
willingly, even if that's the case,
that's
willingly.
Not true. You can lose children are born into slavery.
I know. Show me where a person, a woman who is a servant for life, for a lifetime. For a lifetime, a woman who decides to become a servant for a lifetime.
Okay.
Show me.
Okay. Right. Hey. I'll just mute everybody. It's dead simple. Give me your thumbs up all you want, but you are the one instigating talking and ranting. So if you say a statement, Skylar tries to retort to what you say, and then you instantly disagree with him, it's a little rude. He'll get the same treatment if he does it to you. But just, if you ask a question, give the man a chance to answer.
I respect that.
Once that's over, I do have a question that I want to ask you, which is relative to the topic that we were having tonight. I've asked all Christians that I've interacted with today on different channels back and forth. It's something I'd like to get feedback from. Skylar, if you can remember, or if Terry, would you like to repeat your question?
Oh no, I have it. It's okay. I was going to read him a scripture where a woman doesn't have a choice here.
Holy fuck,
I'm going to give you children too, actually. If you buy a male slave, he's to serve you for 6 years. This is what you call the indentured servitude. But in the 7th year, he shall go free without paying anything. If he comes alone, he's to go free alone. But if he has a wife when he comes, she is to go with him. If the master gives him a wife, she shall bear him sons and daughters. The women and her children shall belong to her master. Only the man shall go free. But if the servant declares, I love my master and my wife and children, and do not want to go free, then his master must take him to the judges. He shall take him to the doorpost and pierce his ear with the awl, and then he will be his servant for life. Let me just read the next verse 7. If a man sells his daughter as a slave, she is not to go free as the male servants do. If she does not please her master, who has selected her for him, he must let her be redeemed. He has no right to sell her to foreigners. Go ahead.
Okay, so is it my time to respond? Okay. First of all, it doesn't say the word please. It's if he finds a woman to be, if he finds evil in his eyes as it relates to the woman. The word is ra, the Hebrew word ra. But as it relates to that, again, my position.
That wasn't the scripture I wrote.
Exodus 21 is what you're reading. I gave you the Hebrew word ra. The point I'm trying to establish here, and I'm going to make it clear.
I didn't even hear what you said. You say that again. I just want to make sure.
The Hebrew word ra.
Yeah.
Okay. Is in the very verse, Exodus 21 verse
Yeah. But what's your point?
Okay, I'm trying to make the point, but you're gonna have to stop interrupting. I thought MathPig said we should be
I thought
interrupted.
you were. I really didn't.
I
I
do
thought you said a whole
apologize.
lot
I
more
am
than that.
checking the chat right now to try and check.
No. But the thing is,
All right,
I
okay.
said 4
Right.
words.
All right.
Go on, Skylar. Let him go.
Thank you. I appreciate the hospitality and
I'm
your
trying.
impartiality. Yeah, and your
I'm trying.
impartiality. Okay, so Exodus 21. I'm gonna try to keep it simple. Exodus 21 is talking about a woman who was given or who offered herself as being a servant. Now, according to the passage, she doesn't get the same treatment as a Hebrew servant. I have no problems with that. But she willingly put herself into that contractual affair. Let's put it that way. But we notice once you keep reading that what kind of treatment is this woman receiving? Let's go to verse.
Just by the way, that's not true. That's not what the Hebrew translates to.
Oh yeah, no problem. You can put it on the screen and we'll figure it out.
Go ahead, put it on the screen. Put it on screen.
No, he could put it. Let's see, because the last time he went to the Hebrew,
I work with a biblical scholar, Dr.
No,
and you're dead wrong. This translation.
Okay, no problem.
Can you read Hebrew?
Listen. We can go. Everybody here is a grown
No,
man.
Skylar, hold on.
Wait, okay. The difference between me and you is that I don't depend on another man to spoon feed me information.
Well,
everybody could go. Can I finish my statement? Everybody who has any common sense could go to Hebrew interlinear and figure out what the passage says. That's why Hebrew interlinears exist. You don't have to read to know Hebrew for you to have a Hebrew interlinear. It gives you the understanding of the passage. Now try to put that and apply that into your daily.
You're just wrong.
Right. Now hold on. Now I'm going to talk here, right? Please. Shouting and screaming and all the rest of it and saying this is mine and that's yours and all right, we understand, we know Josh, and then you want to just please be specific to what he says. If he reads it in his translation, if Skylar gives you the translation that most people accept, you then just reading your translation and not addressing his question gets us nowhere. Because he'll say it's not what he said, you'll disagree, and we'll go round in fucking circles for 20 minutes. If you could be aware of what he's saying, answer it, and then when it's your turn, you can then give your translation and Skylar will then address it. But can you address what he said first, please?
No problem. Number one, anybody could go to the Hebrew, the word ra, which means evil. So we can do that. I put my tongue on the line. You see me? I'll cut my tongue. No, I won't cut my tongue. I'll throw my Bible outside the window if I'm wrong about that. You see, me, I could put, I know so much of what I'm talking about. I'm so confident in my position that I'm willing to throw my Bible or cut my beard if I'm wrong. Number one. So that's the difference between a person who depends on somebody else and somebody who does his own study. Number two, it says what happens to the female, how to treat them. It says in verse 9, and if this female who willingly gave herself up as a servant is given to his son, and he takes himself another wife, her food, her remnant, and her duty as duty as marriage should not be diminished. And if he does not these three things unto her, then she shall go free without money. So
still going. That's not short. Still going. Definitely not
I'm
short.
finalizing.
I stopped listening. You did.
I was reading the verse.
Skylar got
for
up.
you to understand.
Stop
for you to understand, you got to read the verse.
Stop listening.
So this is the reason why people.
Now so that we can look at the Hebrew.
In conclusion. So when people are making these weird arguments, these weak arguments, is because they don't read the text. They're just repeating what they heard somebody else says. This is how you're supposed to treat a woman. She willingly gave herself up as a servant. And if you're not able to hold your end of the bargain, she is to go free without money. Why? Because she owed the money.
Terry,
she gave herself as a servant.
Me personally, right, on not a debate, on not a discussion or anything like that, I think that I would like to have a conversation with you. But your style with this aggression and talking over, I'll just slam down. It doesn't really work in this group mentality and stuff like this whole 6 people. It's not really working, right? I would like to have a chat with you and just, if we could maybe sort something like that. If I can, I do want to give a shout out again. We're doing this tonight. Michael Grando is having a conversation with Christopher Mowdy on the psychology of consciousness. Okay. If I can just get the link here, give me 1 second. It starts very, very soon. I would
Did he
appreciate if
disappear?
everybody could go over there and give a wee sub, give a wee like. It's two people who I very much respect. It's in the live chat. Very, very good in their field. Both teachers, both very, very good at what they do. And you know, philosophy and psychology meet on the idea of consciousness. It's going to be a good chat. I will be doing an after party here afterwards where we'll be opening it up to talk about that. So even if you pop in for 15-20 minutes, Terry, you'll have something to talk about relative to the after party. If you don't have anything to say and talk about, you'll not get in because it's not worthwhile, you know. But I'd appreciate if everyone could go over and do that. We'll work around the room and just give a wee shout out to everyone. Again, a shout out to James. Go and sub to James. He's very close to 100 subs. So we'll start with you, James. If you want to, the floor's yours.
So, I don't know that I want to jump into that thing. I mean, we weren't talking about the Bible. We got sucked into talking about the Bible. You know, I don't like being told that if I think he's wrong about what Bibles say, then it means I haven't read it for myself, because that is clearly not the reason why I disagree with him about what it says. You know, we on Myth Vision and other channels, we have specialists that talk about these things. Dr. Josh Bowen has written books about these things and been a guest speaker several times. It's his field of expertise. He can't tell me he hasn't read the text or doesn't know the history. So if two read the texts, two different people could do their own research and come to different conclusions, then there's some other reason why they're coming to different conclusions than they have or haven't read the text, right? So I don't want to have a debate with anybody about whether or not the Bible says a thing, because I don't even come close to caring. It's like the scripture in the Bible that says, "Happy are those who smash your infants against the rocks," right? That sounds like great fun when you put it that way, doesn't it? And kind of refutes what Otangelo was saying before. But do I have an opinion about, do I even care what Bibles say? No, not really. If I'm arguing with a fundamentalist, it's good fun, but, you know, I care more about the real world effects of religion on people's lives, and beyond that, I just don't. So that's right.
I'll bounce over to Skylar.
So I pulled up the Hebrew. Of course, he's wrong on this. It's saying that if he sells a man, the daughter is not to be made, not to go free like the men do, which was the whole point. They shall not go forth. They shall not be free. Doesn't even use the word. He was referring to a different sentence in there when he was talking about that specific word. Yeah, I figured. I just wanted to let everybody know. You can go, if you go to Blue Letter Bible, you can go to the verse yourself, and then you can look up the Hebrew and see what it's saying. You can't trust people who don't actually study it and know the language as far as this goes. So that's all I'll say.
But I would be of the similar opinion. I want a math question answered. I'll ask a mathematician.
Yep.
I want a Catholic to tell me how many books is in the Bible. I'll go ask a Catholic. You know, it's don't raise your eyebrows. The point is fucking relative. You know, if I wanted to ask, does 7 days prove the world exists? I'll come talk to Terry. You know, these are the things that you go to the people who, in your opinion, are specialists in it, you know. But
here's the word in Hebrew, by the way. If you want to look at that word, that's the Hebrew word that's being referred to, that she shall not go free like the men, which was the whole point of the question being asked. Women aren't freed like the men are.
Headless chicken. Have you
Yeah.
anything you would like to shill or talk about? Very quickly.
Yeah, okay, I'll pitch something in on this. Mr. Delicious, you claim you studied the Bible. Are you aware the word shit's in the Bible? Yes, it is. If you studied it, you'd know. Oh, he's pretending to be on the phone now.
God, give him a call. He picked up.
Oh, yeah.
Right on the screen now. I see that shows you. It's the Hebrew word right there. I highlighted it.
Wait. Oh, there, okay.
And then he is selling a man, the daughter of them is shall not be free like the male servant. And then what he was referring to is down here, the evil one, which was unrelated to the specific thing I was talking about.
Do I get a chance to speak before I leave?
Yes, no, I was
Not if
saving
you
you.
ask
I
dumb
was
questions.
saving you for the fucking end, Terry, because I knew
I
that
appreciate.
nobody else would be able to get a word in edgewise over the top of you, so I was saving you for the end.
I thank you. I thank you. Save the best for last. Hey, I know. It's just a joke. It's funny. I said the word ra. The verse where it says, because he said pleasing, because when he says if the woman is not pleasing, so it sounds like something sexual, right? So I told him no, it's not the word pleasing, it's the word evil. If by looking at her, no, not by looking at her. If he sees evil, if she's
You naturally
read it.
went exactly.
Wait.
where you
Let me
di-
read it. Let me
you
read it.
naturally went exactly where you didn't want to go.
No. The point I already said that the woman doesn't leave like a man. I said that in my very.
Well, that was the point I was initially making about owning women as property.
No, listen.
There we go. Thanks. Sorry, Matt.
Thanks,
I'm going
guys.
to mute. But I just
Yeah,
want to say that was
no
the
problem.
original point.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
what I was saying.
Yeah, thank you.
It was an off-topic thing. Sorry.
Yeah. I already agree that the woman doesn't leave like a man. I already said, I said that from the very beginning. The point is how he tried to say it was pleasing in his sight when it's not the word pleasing. It was the word ra, which is evil in his sight. That is the point I was establishing in the Hebrew, number one. Number two, it says the woman can leave. First of all, it says the woman she gave herself willingly because she was paid for at a price. Why was she paid for at a price? Because she gave herself as a servant. Is it wrong for a woman to give herself as a servant? I need to know by what standard that you can come to that assessment that a person who willingly gives themselves as a servant is some type supposedly evil. Number one. Number two, it doesn't say happy Israel is killing children. I'm sorry. I'm finalizing. It doesn't say happy as in commandment for Israel to be taking babies and snatching Babylonians. No, it says what the Babylonians did to the Israelites, the Persians will do the same thing. So happy are they. It's not saying that we are supposed to kill children. So again, ignorance is a virtue for certain people on this panel.
Appreciate
and finally,
you get 3 points. Now come on.
And he got one of them wrong.
Two was a push.
It's not talking about her selling herself into slavery. It's talking about her father selling herself into slavery.
Just because you put numbers in front of things doesn't stop it being a flipping rant. You get to retort. You get to maybe say.
That's verse 7. That's later on in the verse. That's not the beginning of the passage. Verse 1 to 5 doesn't talk about a person selling their daughter.
It's all in context, dude.
Oh, it's all in context now.
Yes,
Okay,
it's literally paragraph to paragraph.
Can you finalize? Have you not been finalizing?
I'm trying to finalize. I'm gonna go one more time.
You're gonna go one more time. I really don't think so. I really don't think so.
I'm done.
You're done. Correct.
I'm done. Exodus 21.
No, you can't go. I'm done and then shout Exodus. There you go. Thumbs up.
No, okay. Just anybody who knows how to read.
No, we're done. You had to go. Thumbs up. Appreciate it. No,
okay.
Let me finish.
I appreciate it.
Let me finish.
Okay.
We usually let this go and all, but the reason I do it is because I do want to support Michael. I do want to show some support to Christopher. So everyone can go over the link. I'll post it again. Please do go over. Please do go watch that. We will be coming back here afterwards and chatting some more about this and what they're talking about over there, and we will be continuing the conversation. But
is this Mowdy you said?
Christopher Mowdy talking the psychology of consciousness with a guy who specializes in the history of science and philosophy, also a teacher of history.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic...
Mowdy's the man. I love Mowdy.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic conversation, and it's all my fault because I introduced the two of them. So I'm taking responsibility for the whole lot. Right?
I love it.
But Terry, always good to talk. I would like to talk.
I appreciate, man.
Just me and you.
Yeah, no problem. Just next time when because I see scholar fictions going all around the place with the same old arguments. People, just read the book for yourself and stop depending on somebody else to spoon feed you information. Like we don't need Dr. Josh Bowen for you to go to Hebrew Interlinear and read for yourself. So thank you very much for the hospitality.
Had to get that last dig in. Just
yes, because
he shows all the humility of a Christian. All the humility of a Christian.
I love exposing
compassion, all the wacky.
I love exposing the nincompoops. So thank you very much.
Now that's an insult. Get out the fuck. That's an insult. Leave before I kick you. Right?
Yeah, it is. It's narcissism.
You
Right.
never
Toxic,
addressed my
absolutely
question
toxic.
to him, though.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry. It's he's just such a. Like,
I'm sorry, but it's the best retort I can ever come up with for people who just want to scream and yell about translations. The word shit's in the Bible.
Yeah.
If you studied it, you'd know, but they never study that part.
The problem is he doesn't listen to what the point. Like, listen, obviously, what we're talking about was owning people's property, right?
Yeah.
And what he took 15 minutes describing was not the part about owning people's property, like about the word and about like the word. Like you said, he got obsessed with the guy taking a pleasing to her or must please her master, which wasn't nothing. I mean, yeah, it could. I understand how someone can make an argument with that, but like that wasn't the point, right? And then he goes to the Hebrew, and it's like, dude. You don't know this, and just reading a translation website like that is not enough.
yeah.
Right.
A lot of them
Obviously.
websites can all be biased. You know, you can go to this one, that one, that one. It's the internet. We're not even going to go down the route of. It's very simple.
But I do have one question, and it is relevant to what
Do short, man. We've got 6 minutes. 6 minutes. I want to bounce it.
When he was holding up his Bible, what kind of Bible was it?
It's a King James Bible for.
Oh, that's why. Thank
Gotta
you.
be. It's
Has
gotta
to be.
King
I'm not. I'm assuming. I'm assuming. Makes an ass of all of us, but I'm assuming. You know. Yes.
man.
On that note, I want to thank everyone who's came tonight. Savage, Raw, Brojo slipped in at the end there. We've got Rejo, who I have an awful lot of love for. We've got Carl, we've got Maya, everyone who was here tonight, probably except for Untangelo, because he's really not adding, and I'm trying to be nice, but even my AI that automatically adds everybody will not add him. So I'm thinking I'm going to start listening to my computer from now on. Sorry, Untangelo. Messenger reveals. Thank you very much. Last time, Skyler, I'm a little jealous. He did donate 100 in a super chat. I only got 50 the other day. I don't know.
Who did?
From Messenger reveals.
He gave you $100?
No, he donated 100 to you in a super chat the other day.
No, he did not.
Yes, he did.
Really? I did not see $100 from. Hold on. I mean, I would thank him if he did, but
you did thank him.
No, that was not. I think you saw 100 Norwegian dollars from Knock, from that not Knock, the Norwegian dude. There's no way. Hold on. We're gonna go to Match Money. We're gonna go look at my money. Not that there's a lot here.
I was just trying to make a joke and point out that even though the man gets a lot of stick in the community, he's still a decent lad.
Did he? Well, I'll thank him if he did. I just don't. I didn't see it. I didn't see $100 come through. I would have been ecstatic. I mean, thank him. I mean, all right.
Oh, you did thank him. It went off on an alert and everything. But anyway, regardless,
All right.
everybody, go
I'm so
over to
terrible.
fucking Michael's channel. Go and watch fucking Michael's channel. Go over there, do that, and yeah.
Later, guys.
Thank you, MathPig, very much for this.
Thanks, everybody, and don't forget, people, to think for yourselves.
Yep, for